Welcome to the Accounting Arc Podcast, where analysis, reaction, and comedy collide to tackle the big topics from the world of accounting and beyond. Join our trio of transformation agents as they discuss the hottest topics in and out of the profession, from breaking down industry trends, to reacting to everyday events, to uncovering the hidden humor in numbers. With wisdom, insight, and a dash of levity, they're proving that accounting isn't just about the numbers. It's about life. Because after all, accounting is in everything. The Accounting Arc Podcast starts now.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Accounting Arc. This is one of our bonus episodes where I really wanted to highlight something that became very meaningful to me. I just moved back to Hawaii after spending 10 years on the mainland this past December, and I've really loved just being reconnected to my community, coming back home, and really being able to look at, hey, I'm back in a smaller city. What do we really need to do? Is there meaningful work here? And I found that there really was. And this really made me think too, there must be others that feel that way. So connected with two of my great colleagues here, and both of whom I actually consider friends. And I'm going to let them introduce you and tell you where they're practicing so that you get a feel for what we're going to talk about today. So Shayna, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Donny. I really appreciate you asking me to participate in this. I'm Shayna Chapman. I am from a small town in Ohio, Gallipolis, Ohio. It's just a town of about 3,000 people and a county of about 30,000, so it's small. I grew up in accounting, in the accounting field, and took me a windy path to get back here, but I'm here and I really enjoy what I do, and I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, Shayna. And Mohan?
All right, thank you, Donnie, for this great opportunity and to meet Shayna here. My name is Mohan Chirumamilla, and prior to becoming a firm owner, I was in the corporate role for almost 20 years, ranging from worked in areas ranging from cybersecurity, accounting, financial reporting. And after spending that many years, I realized that I was just a cog in the wheel and not able to actually have any meaningful sense of what I was doing. Money was great, but there was always that sense of like I was kind of lost in that forest. So I decided to go on my own and became a firm owner, and this is my full-time gig since the beginning of 2024. And I primarily serve the communities in Omaha, Nebraska, and also in Columbia, Missouri. And my clients are they range from farmers to individual small business owners, restaurants, and realtors. Wild spectrum of different small business owners.
I love where you started with that last comment, which is you felt like the cog in the wheel and you wanted to do something that was more impactful. And that was for me kind of coming from PwC, being able to come back and work with, when I started my firm, to come back and work with small businesses and nonprofits. I mean, the base of my practice is a lot of nonprofits and a bunch of small businesses. And it was that meaningfulness, the fact that I felt like I wasn't just delivering a report, I was actually helping to improve things, and people actually valued. It wasn't just, okay, yeah, I checked the box and I got the
Yeah.
thing done. Tell us, or maybe both of you can share with us a little more, how is the work that you're doing now different than kind of, let's say, traditional accounting, or what you would think of as what a traditional firm does?
Well, Mohan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we have is because of the type of audience that we serve and the demographic, I would say, uh, there are some inherent challenges in dealing with old school habits, because a big population of our clients, they're senior citizens. They have some challenges navigating technology, and as a result of how they were accustomed to dealing with CPA firms from back in the day, they still have those same expectations in an environment where recruiting is getting a very challenging task, right? So if you are expected to hire people locally from within a specific geographic location, chances are that most likely you're not going to find the talent. So the question then becomes, what do you do to continue serving these people? Do you just shut the doors and say good luck, or what do you kind of or do you come up with some way of making that talent available? And one of the things that, so we have looked at going all virtual, right? This is where everything was going to be in the cloud. All the people are going to be scattered across the country, or maybe even scattered across the continents. But then what we have realized soon is that these people, they're just not that they do not like technology. They're just like inherently limited with using technology. Like I have people who are blind, and clients who are blind, right? And so the question becomes more of a technical challenge. So we kind of decided to have a hybrid model where they can still come into a familiar operation that they have been used to coming in, and all the processes that they touch, we try to keep those as old school as possible. But then we try to mask with technology and process and procedures behind the scenes. Once we have that touch and transition, like where we bring their information and everything, then it's almost like all of that is going from one world into a different world behind the scenes that they're completely blind to. So they don't see any of the stuff that happens, but then we deal with that in the way that we think is more sustainable, more scalable. But then the end result back to them is again that familiar process that they're used to. I'll be sitting down with the clients, sitting across the table, spending time with them, more relationship based focus rather than a transactional. So that's one thing that we kind of had to try different models, and then come up with a hybrid approach where the touch points are all old school, but behind the scenes technologies all relying on the latest and the greatest technology tools that are out there.
So Shayna, I know you're going to want to pick that up because you're a
I
CITP. You and I have met I think, on a stage about tech. So let me just let you speak.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to hear him speak because there's so many different things you can do and different ways you can give your services and meet with your clients, and exactly what you're saying, Mohan, whether it's they want to walk in the door, because people really do like touch. It doesn't matter how much we want to be virtual or whatever. People really do like touch.
Yeah.
But I have now been in this. I grew up in this, and I grew up with a father that was a CPA and held everybody's hand and was like very into being their best friend and teaching them and all the various things. And it was a great way to grow up and watch somebody mentor their clients. But now that I've had my own firm for over 2 decades, I've been in this myself for over 2 decades and had my own firm for quite a while. I have now gotten to the point of you will work my way or you will not be my client. And so I have pivoted because I have the ability to do so because I have built my firm, and then I have got rid of the ones that I don't want anymore and brought in people that fit. And so the way we do things is a little bit different. And that is, we are very high tech, just like you are. And you're doing it on the back end. We do it on the front end. We immediately say, do you have email? Will you communicate this way? Are you okay using Microsoft Teams? Do you understand that while we have a brick and mortar, because we know you want to meet, you can't always walk in this door because we're small and we may not be here, but our phones are on, but we may not be here. I may be at a client's or what have you. We our engagement letters, the way we do contracts, all electronic, the way we Pay. People pay up front for our services. We set an exact amount of money and say, this is your bill. Whether it's a tax return or bookkeeping, doesn't matter. We give you your price up front. That's very different from a traditional firm that bills by the hour. So we've just changed. We've changed over time because I had already built up my firm, and then I was like, okay, now I have the luxury of getting it modeled into what I want it to be, and finding the clients that fit. And as you find one that fits, you let go of one that doesn't. And so even in a town of 3,500 people where not everybody has cell service or even internet available, we still manage to be able to find those clients because technology is what it is today.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Shayna, because you highlighted a very, very important point, especially in this day and age where we are seeing a lot of M&A activity. So one of the things that I was like facing as a business owner, as I said, I acquired a business in Columbia, Missouri last year, was, do I continue to serve the clients that came with the operation, or do I make a business decision and let those clients go and take a hit, right? So for
Yeah.
me, there was also that economic factor that was weighing on my shoulders. And I mean, yes, you are 100% right. Like if you're trying to build a firm ground up where you have the levers to pull for defining the culture, both from an employee standpoint, client standpoint, I think you're going to have a lot more latitude in defining your rules of engagement. But coming from a different perspective, for me, I was kind of like, constrained in terms of like, hey, as a business owner, what do I do here? Do I take a
Yeah.
financial hit, or do I figure out a way to make it work? And it was like, one of those things like, uh, I was, kind of forced because I was not ready to make a financial hit, especially after, putting in a lot of capital and stuff like that. So this is why, this is how we kind of, have tweaked the model a little bit, but it's a great observation because with the M&A, there's a lot of M&A, as you all know, that's going on. This is something that companies and firms have to be very well aware of before they decide to, go and acquire a firm or sell a firm, to see, how the existing clients are going to get impacted with ownership changes.
I
It's
think
a choose your own path. That's the beauty of what we do. You can choose and figure out based on your clients. There's no right way or wrong way. It's what
Yeah,
makes you feel good about it and makes your clients feel good about it.
absolutely.
I like that you bring that up, because I think that's one of the things I'm seeing a lot is with this M&A. Some people like it because it creates that more business, I'm going to just put that in air quotes, business environment that people feel like they want to be a part of. Others sometimes feel like that, as Mohan said, that I'm a cog. I don't want to be a cog. I want to create my own adventure. So as I
Yeah.
create my own adventure, one of those might be coming and starting a firm. And I think a lot of times, a lot of us feel like, especially if you've come from a smaller town, you're like, I can't really go back there because I'm not going to be able to do stuff. But I think you're both providing great examples of you can actually come back to a smaller city, smaller town. And one potential avenue, as Mohan did, was acquire a firm, acquire an older firm, and then figure out how to work from there. And eventually, because I know Shayna didn't start off doing everything that she's doing now, but you
Mm-mm.
can build towards where Shayna is now and really having much more mature processes, have adopted some of the quote new things like value pricing or advanced pricing type of methods, and eventually cultivate what you really want to do out of a firm or what you want your
Yeah.
firm to be doing, I
Yeah.
should say.
The reason why that's important to us, Donnie, is we also have a lot of parents in here that work for me, employees, and I want them to have the freedom to come and go and not be strapped down to their desks per se. So that's why I'm like, we can't necessarily have off when you're a small firm. We can't necessarily say somebody is sitting here from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. because one of my team might have to go to a soccer game, or somebody else is going to see a school play, and then I'm at a client's. Or so I want to be able to have that freedom for my staff as well. And so we have we've just pretty much had to say to clients, this is the way we work. We have all these other ways of communicating. And a lot of clients now are different too. They're younger and they're
Yeah.
doing it more. It was harder even 10 years ago than it is today.
Well, Shayna, you also, in our prep call for this, you talked about also looking at the broader community, and you had shared about how you changed some of the ways you worked with perhaps the nonprofits. Do you want to share a little bit of that and kind of this bigger picture? Because I know one of the big things I've
Yeah.
heard you say multiple times is that you're in this community, so you can't just be this firm by yourself, only doing the basic accounting stuff and selling services.
Yeah, I'm very community minded. I've sat on nonprofits myself. I've helped raise money, tried to revitalize our downtown. I mean, we don't really have a big city near us. We are the big city of 3,500 people. So everybody else is a suburb of us. So imagine how small that must be, right? But you're always trying to give back to your community. Things don't happen here unless we make them happen. And when you get involved at first, you kind of get a little bit tired of giving away stuff when you need to also make a little bit of money because you got to feed your kids. I have a kid. I want him to have food on and stuff, but also you want to give back. But you realize, it's all for a bigger picture. But also, there are real nonprofits. You don't have to be in DC. You don't have to be in, Columbus, Ohio, here, where, since I'm from Ohio, you don't have to be in these bigger cities with huge nonprofits. There are smaller nonprofits that really need real help. And they are willing to pay for your services, and they are very grateful because they know you and you understand them and what they're trying to do. So for instance, our in our firm, we're very we do a full model of, we do your bookkeeping and then we do your tax return, or we can just set you up on the proper technology, train you to do your bookkeeping, offer a support package where you can call us, you can prepay for a support package, however, it's best to do it. And I think a lot of these nonprofits think they just have to try it themselves, or they end up having to call a big firm like an auditing firm or something like that. And when they come to us and they figure out, oh my goodness, we can set this up and we can just call her and she will take care of us, they get really excited about that. And they're very grateful. I get a lot of thank you cards from nonprofits for just being there and not making it as hard as they think it is, because historically they've dealt with larger firms who don't really know them and don't have a vested interest in the community doing better. What they're doing helps me. And so I have a vested interest in seeing them do better also. So, and it makes you feel good. It just makes you feel so good.
I think in accounting that we too often forget that we have to put our own mask on first, like in an airplane, right? Put our own mask on first before we help others. And our whole thing is, oh, there's clients, I got to help the clients, I got to do all this stuff. And we're giving so much of ourselves that we're not taking that time to take care of ourselves. It's part of the reason why at the center we created this whole personal resilience program, which is really, for you to be that strong rock and foundation for the clients, you need to be solid yourself first. So it really is a matter of taking care of ourselves, and then we can take care of others. In fact, we can take care of more others the stronger that we are as a foundation. And that's also why a lot of what we do is based in teams, because then even if you're faltering, some of the teammates can jump in to cover or to allow you the time to rest so that you can rest, but we're still holding everybody up. So that's why I think working together in a team is so important, as well as taking care of yourself.
And the other thing that I think Shane already touched on this is the technology education part. especially with the nonprofits not having the same kind of resources that your for-profit organizations have. Most of the folks that work in these organizations, they don't get the same level of training, they don't get the same level of exposure that some of the other folks in for-profit organizations get. And as a result of that, they don't even know what they're missing out there with all the technology advancements and all the new technology trends. And as Shayna pointed out, if as accountants, we have the opportunity to have that frequent touch points with them, working with them on their financials, everything. But if you can also bring in that value added advice and value added education, is what I would probably say, just to kind of let them know what the options are that are available, and help them realize, how they can use some of these new technologies to expand on their mission, and grow and have a far expanded reach in their communities. I think it goes a long ways.
Yeah, I was at one this week, and it's a newer one for me. And I had set up their accounting system for them, reset it up. I was like, look, you really need to do this right. Let's get a good chart of accounts. Just because you don't have to have account numbers doesn't mean you shouldn't. And so let's talk about these things and go through it. And then I went out to make sure their year-end numbers were right. And I really thought she was almost in tears with just how much she kept saying, I just really appreciate you. I appreciate you being here and you're teaching me, and I'm going to learn, because sometimes people, they just don't know, and the
Yeah.
people running the boards think, well, these people don't know, we should just fire them and get a new person. No, they don't know because nobody's taught them. So let me come out and
Mhm.
teach her. I think she has the ability, and I'm very excited to help her because she's going to be great for you. And so it's very heartwarming, and it's not a situation where I didn't get paid. I am going to get paid. And sometimes I give more than I would to a regular for-profit of my
Mhm.
time. But there's a whole sense of this is my community, and I'm glad to be there. And I will see her at dinner somewhere. I will see her on the street. I will see her, if it's at church, wherever it is, I'm going to see these people. And I'm glad to be somebody that they're glad, to have helped them.
Building on that too, the other reason I think the approach that you take, because we also work a lot with nonprofits, and that's part of the way I look at that too, is you're in a smaller community, so there may not be another person out there that actually knows the
Mhm.
tech or has the skills. So
Mhm.
we kind of have to work and develop the community that we're working with and the people that we have to really be able to elevate them or upskill them to be able to do these things, at least at a basic level.
And they'll be really good for the nonprofit, and they'll be really good clients. They're going to be
Yeah.
great clients. It just takes a little upfront work, and it's going to be great for everybody if you just take a little extra time with them.
Now, Mohan, you also, I want to raise too, because I know a lot of people think about outsourcing or offshoring, and I think a lot of people also think of that as very transactional. I'm going to send it offshore, it's good, the work is going to get done. But you've actually set up your offshoring with a little bit different principle and this concept of kind of serving basically back home in India for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what got me into basically going and searching for talent outside of my geographic location, which is, I briefly alluded to this earlier, was the shortage of accountants. I mean, you all know this, that, kids these days, they don't find accounting as glamorous as, some of our, older folks did back in the day. So they want to go work for Metas of the world, the Googles of the world. And accounting is not something, that's on the top of their list. But then the question becomes, like, how do we continue to serve the communities that we serve in, and how do we make sure that we have the talent, the right talent, to serve these communities? And that's really the main driver that kind of made me look at other options. And just like the many of the firms out there, outsourcing was an option that um, not only became a possibility, but also became a necessity for my firm. But one of the things that most of the firms talk about, especially when it comes to outsourcing, and even including myself, is it can be a hit or miss if you're not careful with how you build that team and the kind of culture. And just me being very anal about having a good quality governance model and wanting to make sure that our clients are continue to be served in the way that they were used to, especially from the quality of the work, right? I mean, if we want to have them change their, how they're getting their information, emails versus portal, we can work through all those logistical things. But when it comes to serving a client, it's very, very important that the team understands and knows their client, because yes, accounting is a universal language. No matter which country you go to, accounting is accounting, but every client is different. Even though if you take two restaurants, each restaurant could be run differently based on the preferences of the owner, and you really need to understand those nuances to be able to effectively serve those clients. And that was the reason why I decided to go down the path of building my own team, so I can put more focus and control on the what kind of people that I'm bringing on board, the kind of training that I can have for my people to go through, and also to ensure that there's that continuity of expertise, so our folks can build up that knowledge and develop that relationship with the client. So I try to make my bring my offshore team, sit in on meetings with the clients when I'm having those, have them ask questions, have them build that relationship, as opposed to just, doing the transactional work. I give them a file and they crunch the numbers in an Excel file and, send it back to me. No, we actually meet as a team, like me, along with the offshore people that are handling that client, and have the client actually reach out to them, ask questions, and have them build that relationship. Because at the end of the day, like Shayna pointed out earlier, we are in the business of relationships with our clients, and it's a very, very trust based profession. So I do not see my offshore team as just like somebody that are responsible for crunching the numbers, but I actually try to bring them on board, make them feel as part of the team, like they should feel like they're part of the team too, and also have them interact directly with the client, because I want them to see the impact that they are making to the client, right? Because otherwise they don't get that sense of accomplishment, sense of rewarding experience, because otherwise they're going to feel like they're a cog in the wheel, which I know I was there, and I'm trying everything that I could be, I could do to make sure that they don't feel like they're just a cog in the wheel, but they're actually making a true impact on the client. And one of that is having the direct client engagement and making sure that they are understanding what they're doing for the client and understanding the needs, so that they know what their purpose is.
Thanks for highlighting that, because I think that's one of the things when I talk to a lot of small town practitioners, I think they feel like I can't I can't leverage, whether it's onshore or offshore. I cannot
Mhm.
leverage remote talent because it's just not going to work. They're not local. And I think what you're describing is a really good way to kind of do a hybrid model, because you do have yourself and people that are there in locally, but you're bringing in the other part of your team to engage with the clients. That's
Exactly.
we'd follow the same thing with my team as well. We have the offshore team in there with the clients. We consider them part of our team rather than just this group that we're sending work to in the back end.
Exactly. And even when I have folks coming into the office to meet with me, I make sure that even my offshore team is actually in the conference, like they're actually on the Teams conference, and they will be on the TV, and I'll be sitting across the client, having a conversation, and they will be out. It's like a team engagement that we try to bring to that relationship. And so that when you do that, and when a client sees that, you have not just one person but multiple people who are there caring for their needs, and wanting to have that dialogue, and just not like, hey, here's your tax return, and see you next year. It actually opens up a lot of um, uh, honest conversations about how they feel, like how we could be doing better to serve them. And we have gotten like really good feedback from some of our clients that helped us redesign some of the things that we tweaked in our process. And I don't think I would have gotten that honest feedback unless the clients felt like they were in good hands and we are genuinely out there to help them.
Very true, very true. We are almost at time. Wow, I can't believe how fast the time passed. Quick end note on Mohan's concept there. So if you are a smaller practitioner or a smaller office, and so I wanted them to realize there are options for you. Mohan luckily has his connection back to India. He's able to start his own. There are other options that other outsourcers that work with smaller firms. So just know that that is an option out there for those of you that are trying to serve a smaller community and you can't get the talent locally.
Yep.
In the last couple of minutes, I'm curious for either of you or both of you to provide if someone was thinking about either students say, hey, I want to go start my own practice, or the other one that might be also relevant is I'm having to go back home, move back home to help be a caregiver for my parents or somebody. And if they're feeling like, oh, I'm gonna have to move back home, I'm gonna what can I do? One of the options might be start your own practice. What words of advice would you give to them?
So, Donnie, I will tell you that's exactly why I came back home. I had to be a caregiver. I was in a smaller firm because I already knew I didn't want a big firm. I knew that because my dad had worked for a big firm. So I knew the inside and I didn't want to do it. But I loved my smaller firm of about 50 people. So not tiny, but smaller. And they worked in a niche I wanted, which was Japanese manufacturing. So that was my thing. And then suddenly I'm back into a 3,500 person town with no Japanese manufacturing. And so what am I going to do? Well, you start to wonder if this is the place for you. Let me tell you that it has been a tremendous life. You come back, you're ingrained with people. People love you where you're from. I know small town politics are small town politics. We all have them. We've all seen Mayberry. Well, us older people have seen Mayberry. We understand how it works. But people genuinely have a connection to you and they want you to help them. You will find clients, it will work. You'll have a good life. And what you bring is a perspective from these larger towns that you've been in. And that perspective is helpful to everybody in your community. That's now what I tell other kids that have gone away. Hey, go away, experience things. If you can come back home and teach us, we're all better for it. And along those lines, real quickly, one of the things that we did was set up a scholarship at our local university specifically for our county and a couple around us. So if you're from our county, you can have that accounting scholarship, go to school in accounting, and then hopefully go experience a firm and come back home. We want you to come back home and come work. Come work for us. Come open your own firm, whatever you want to do, but we'd love to have you back.
Love that. I'm gonna put one caveat, and I want to see if you agree with me on what you said. It's bring the bigger town, bigger city experiences in, but don't try to force the town to change to be that bigger city, because that's what I'm
Right.
finding. I'm having to revisit and re put my head back in, okay, we're local, we're here. How do I balance those mentalities? Because it's the balance that actually is the
Yeah,
magic. And we don't,
it
the reason
is.
we left some of the big cities and towns is because we don't like that politics and stuff that goes on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot you can help us with here in our small community. You have a lot of knowledge to bring back.
Yep. The things that I would tell to those younger folks is there's definitely opportunity, especially with the shortage of accountants in this country. There's a lot of opportunity out there. In fact, this is like one of the things that I've been trying to talk my kids into coming into this profession myself, just because it's one of those things. It's recession proof. There is a need. It's not like you have to go find the need. There is a need that needs to be addressed. And more importantly, with the technology that is available right now, some of the constraints that old firms face with recruiting and scaling their operation, those can be solved now. with technology and with the teams that are used to working globally, there's that cultural change that is coming into the accounting profession where people are able to work with each other, from multiple different continents, working through all the logistical challenges. I mean, the technology has solved a lot of those problems. All we need at this point is people with that motivation to step in and then take advantage of those opportunities. But the big thing is there is a need, and this need is only going to get even bigger.
And one of the things I want to re-highlight from Mohan's background is he was in Fortune 500. So more of what I would think of as your typical CFO, and I know you do a ton of cyber, so you're really
Right.
technical too, but and dealing with these at a very big company scale, and you've shifted and started your own firm, and you're back doing the bookkeeping and the tax returns
Yep.
for small business. So I think people should think just because I was doing big stuff in big company doesn't mean a lot of those, again, if you adapt it correctly back down to small business, you can actually bring a great wealth of knowledge and expertise back to the community you're in.
Yeah. When you have a client, who is going through some really difficult times in their life with, so loved ones passing away and then trying to figure out, and when you sit across the table and then are listening to that and are able to help that person figure out, navigate that crisis, that is a lot more, satisfaction rather than getting a big paycheck at the end of the month. Just because, you can directly see the impact at that personal level. Like, you made a comment about people value your advice, right? So they're coming to you asking for your advice and they value your advice. And honestly speaking, you really don't have to compromise your compensation either. I mean, there is so much need that, yes, the work is going to look a lot different. Initially it's going to feel scratchy and it's going to feel uncomfortable, shifting from that corporate type work to doing a work that is more catered towards individuals and small businesses. But it is definitely a change that people can navigate if they're open to such a change.
Very well, and a great ending because I feel that's something we heard. All three of us kind of touched on that, just the impact of your work and that satisfaction feeling. It's something that you can't beat coming home and being able to serve the local community. So
Yeah.
thank you both for being with me for this to highlight this often untalked about X section of our profession. And I hope that all of you listening out there would join us again on another episode. We'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
The Center for Accounting Transformation provides business professionals with a network for utilizing innovations that are ready for adoption, the training and resources necessary to apply those innovations, and an opportunity to engage the talent and community needed to further the pursuit of innovative accounting practices that drive responsible and mindful business performance. Find out more at our website, www.improvetheworld.net. And if you're interested in sharing your own transformation stories, please contact us there.